Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with my colleagues, Begoña and Shubham. Shubham, as you don't know him right now, he's a data scientist and NLP expert, okay? And he was working in the EU, and he was collaborating with me in one project that we will share in the presentation. Okay, so, well, first of all, I want to present the speakers. You already know them, so I'm not going to repeat that. Afterwards, I want to talk about my company, Innova-tsn, and also about our relationship with Open University, which I don't know, I think we have been working with you for 4 years, something like that. Afterwards, we will show you 2 use cases. One of them is called Ask You, and Begoña and Shubham will show that. And the other one is called Boosting Talent Acquisition Efficiency, okay? Something internal from our company, and we want to show that because it not only shows how to improve the talent acquisition inside companies, but also shows how students and people who want to apply for some companies can improve their own process to be included or to be selected in some positions. And finally, we want to finish with some conclusions, because we think that some things are worth to note again, because my conclusions are quite similar as the ones that you have been seeing through all the day, okay? But I think it's something that is worth highlighting here. The speakers, you already know us. One thing that I want to highlight, Alejandra Gomez, which is part of my company, she really helped us in this presentation and the preparation of the session. She can't be here with us because, well, she's ill, but I wanted to highlight her efforts in this presentation as well. So, starting with Innova. I'm going to be really quick because I think the important thing here are the use cases, but I wanted to highlight a few things, okay? We are a Spanish-based company, okay, but we have we work in 4 different countries with 6 offices, okay? We have different offices in Spain, we have an office here in London, and that's why we collaborate with Open University and other UK-based companies, and we have 2 offices in South America, okay? Our focus is related with data. We cover solutions, we offer solutions throughout all the data lifecycle. We can help companies with collecting the data and also exploiting it, and also we provide solutions regarding artificial intelligence and other kind of things that today are really into our minds, okay? We also, one of our characteristics is that we want to innovate, and that's why we are showing you 2 use cases here that we think are quite innovative, because they include Gen AI solutions, which are something that is in the verge right now, and something that proves our innovation, our internal innovation, and also Open University innovation is the different awards we received regarding that area, okay? Continuing with our solutions, we provide cloud solutions regarding strategy and also implementation of cloud solutions. We provide solutions as well regarding artificial intelligence, as I have mentioned before, and also related with data analytics and model BI in order to exploit all the data, all the information that businesses have, and obtain business insights really useful for their decision taking, okay? So, going into things that I think really matter here, okay? Our relationship with Open University. We have been working with them for 4 years. I have already mentioned that. We started with some, I don't know how to say it, strong foundations, some small projects that included a data assessment or obtaining the student visions through different data sources. Well, different projects that were small at the beginning, but set the foundations and the trust between both parts. Afterwards, we tried to work with them. We started to work with them regarding AI enablement, okay? We prepared 2 platforms, one of them regarding MLOps, and the other one LLM Ops, okay? And afterwards, related with that latest platform, we work in the Ask You project, which my colleagues will show you. And right now we are working on different applications that they have internally in order to help them go to the next level and to make some strategic impact inside the company. And I will let them talk now because Ask You is their project, and I want them to show it to you.
Hello, good afternoon. So First of all, I wanted to give you a bit of background about what AskOU is. AskOU is a tool that is powered by generative AI. We use ChatGPT, and what it does is generates a draft template for advisors to reply to student inquiries. So why we did AskOU? So here you have a bit of the data that we gathered. And in the Open University in Academic Services, we deal with about 1 million emails a year, about 50,000 web chat conversations, and about 270,000 inbound calls. All of this is inbound activity. And as you can see, usually per channel, it takes us about a quarter of an hour to solve these student inquiries. So when we were looking at generative AI, we decided to focus on the email channel because this didn't require a very sophisticated solution with real-time data. And so it meant less effort, and because of the volume of the emails and the amount of workforce that we have dedicated to reply to email inquiries, we could deliver value faster. So we decided to do a POC, and with a couple of resources that we had in the data science team, we built a prototype that then we pilot with academic services. These pilots with academic services help us understand the level of efficiencies that we could drive by doing different testing, amongst them some blind testing. And what we gathered with this testing was that we could drive this to about 25 up to 40 level of efficiency gains that then could be translated into actual savings, because in academic services in the unit we subcontract and outsource a lot of resources. So this could enable us to make the service for students cheaper, but also we could release capacity so we could support students better. So both things were the reasons behind why we wanted to do this. So as I was mentioning before, we are using ChatGPT to generate a template. It's a draft template for advisors. So we keep the human in the loop, the advisor, to follow more like a quality assurance role, so they can determine if the template and the draft that we have generated with GenAI can be used to respond to the student, or if it needs some sort of amendment. So that's what we did, and as I was saying, through the pilots that we ran with advisors, with the prototype, we realized that we could move from responding about 4 emails an hour up to 7 emails an hour, okay? So how does this work? The student has an inquiry. This is logged in our CRM system. The advisor picks up that email, and it goes into AskOU. At the moment, AskOU is a standalone application, and we decided to do this because of the speed to value. The better solution in terms of user experience would have been to integrate the generative AI solution that we have in AskOU straight into the CRM system. But to avoid adding more lag time to the delivery in production, we decided to build a standalone solution, and we didn't have to do the integration. This is something that is at the moment in our backlog, so to achieve this and improve the user experience. So AskOU then goes into our big data platform and picks up some student context that we need to build the draft response. And things that, for example, is being picked up from here are the modules that the student is studying, and this sort of information that for some of the student inquiries, this will be very relevant data. And we also pick up other data from our website, the Help Center, and the knowledge management system that we have and that the advisors use to reply to students, okay? So we add this as a contest, and in a rack architecture that my colleague will explain later, AskOU generates a template for the advisor, and the advisor picks up that template, does some validation, that's where we keep the human in the loop, and once the advisor has done the amendments necessary, if something is needed, it goes back to the CRM system, and the reply is being sent to the student. In AskOU, as you will see in the demo as well, we are picking up feedback from the advisors as well to understand how the quality of these draft responses is, so we can continuously improve the solution. But we will cover this a bit later on. So over to you, Shubham.
Hi everyone, I hope you can see the screen. So this is a standalone app that Begoña was talking about. So initially you could see some details, like in this app we have the PI, SR number and activity ID. So PI is very much linked to the student. So that's how we try to identify, okay, which student are we talking about. Just for your knowledge, these are all dummy values right now. So none of them are real for this demo. And SR number is mostly linked to the email query that student has sent. So we try to track an email with the help of SR number and activity ID. And you could see over here that I've pasted one of the dummy email that we have got from students. It's more about that when can I get the final module result for A803. So these are the specific modules that we have in the Open University. As some of the previous colleagues have talked about keeping human in the loop. So here, what we are doing is we are trying to generate a draft response for that particular email inquiry. And after this email would be looked down by the academic advisor. They'll try to validate this email. And if they have to modify or edit any of the details, they'll edit it before sending it to the actual student through the CRM system. So over here, they could also tell us whether they have used this reply or not. And there are some of the, we are trying to take feedback. Okay, what's the response quality? Do you like it? Or do you want to use it? Or do you want us to do some improvement on that side? Down below, you could see some links. So these links help us in identifying from where we have got this information. So we are using different sources of information, which comes from OU website, PDF docs, and 3 source system that we have. And if you click on any one of over here, we could see that this information, we got it from this area. And we can validate going inside. Okay, so let me do one thing. I'll try to do one live example with you. So right now, we have a standalone application. So advisors need to copy that data from the CRM system they are using. So I'll try to mimic exactly the same thing that advisor tries to do. Yeah, just bear with me. That's a tedious task. So once we have entered all the details of student and the SR, and we have entered the email that we have received from the student, we'll just click on generate response. And behind the scene, it goes to the LLM. We are trying to use GPT-4o right now. It goes within the, with the student context in the LLM, and we get a draft response for that particular email. So what advisor will do again is he'll go through the email, draft email. If he has to edit anything, he'll edit, or else directly send it to the student. So that's it for the demo.
You want to show another one? Okay.
So this is the architecture that we are using for this product, AskOU. So you could see there are 3 main important components over here. Okay, so the first component is the web component. Okay, this is the web app, standalone web app that you see. And the second component is the Titan over here. This Titan is kind of where we store the structured and unstructured query for the student. So we have all the kind of information related to student, and all the source system information from OU is going inside the Titan. We try to use Titan to process some of the information. And the third major component is the LLM component. We use LLM ops over here, and you could see on the top right corner, we have OU website and docs and PDF. So we try to scrap information from the website and the docs and PDF. Whatever information we have scrapped from the website and the docs, we try to save it in vector content. So Azure AI Search over here is a vector DB for us. And in this component, you also see we are using Azure OpenAI. So GPT-4 model for LLM is being used on this context. Down over here, you see the Cosmos DB. So Cosmos DB contains the student context. So whatever we are processing from Titan, we try to save the student context in the Cosmos DB. So what happens is when you have seen me clicking on generate content, we try to get a response from this LLM over here. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, maybe afterwards we can, if you have any questions or whatever, we can go back to that, okay? But I want to show you the next slides and also the next use case. I don't know if you
I can cover this.
Okay.
So I told before about we were aiming to get with AskOU, but I think it's important as well to reflect on why we went about it in the way that we did. So as you can see, the standalone application has a lot of, it's not the perfect user experience because it's not integrated with the CRM system. But as I explained, we did this to ensure that the speed to delivery was as quick as possible. And we did this to enable us to reduce the response rates that we had as quick as possible, but also to maximize our learnings. Having this solution delivered in production in about 6 months has been very useful for us. We have been doing we launched it, we went live in the first week in June, and we have been collecting a lot of data from the users. So now we have an understanding of what are the things that we need to do to improve the quality of the drafts that we are producing. We understand the level of adoption that potentially is hindered as well by the user experience. We need to boost our adoption. And we have also looked at how the advisors are using the draft. And some of the things that we have understood by doing this is that the advisors are over-editing sometimes. So we are going to have the quality assurance team involved to understand how we can train the advisors properly so we can materialize the savings. So usually, the learnings go in so many fronts about how humans interact with the technology, what sort of training you have to put in place. This is very important as well in terms of maximizing the learnings as soon as possible. And that's why iterating frequently and having something that is in production that has certain scale that can give you insights to understand what are the next steps to deliver the level of outcomes that you are after is super important. Because usually what you do in the testing phases, it is more positive than when you go live and you see the realities of the situation. So the faster that you can go, the better will be for the organization to deliver those outcomes. So I think that's another thing, but some of the things that we uplifted as well by doing AskOU is that we work on this LLM Ops framework. Now we need to move to agentic ops, because at the moment AskOU is a tool, basically generates a draft response, but we want to deliver a framework that supports the university to scale up the usage of what we have delivered for other use cases that potentially before didn't have a positive ROI, but that now, because we have the infrastructure, it will be. And we want to move to agentic ops because that will enable the university not only to deliver a tool, but also to action. So it's not only processing language, but also acting on that language. And for that, we need to prepare other things in the university, like access to APIs and other tools for the agents to action. So that's one of the positive things about what we have achieved. I think the other thing is around ways of working. So we are organizing now multifaceted teams with different skills together into product teams, and we are improving our ways of working on this. So I think this is also very important because that's what it makes a product team successful, to really understand the skills that you need to build in, how they need to work together, how to use DevOps properly, and so on. And in terms of the governance, this use case has also helped us delivering some scorecards that we are building now in progress to monitor the solution, not just on the outcomes, but also on things like compliance and info security too. Okay? And it's very good because we have been acknowledged not only internally, but also externally. We got the HESPA award this year for our innovation, and we have been nominated by Data IQ as well with the Innovation Award, and we will find out if we got the award or not in November. So I'm positive. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. And I will continue with the other use case. Okay, the name is Boosting Talent Acquisition Efficiency. Okay, the main thing here, I want you to understand the context of this solution. Okay, internally our human resource team is called Talent and Culture. Okay, I will be talking about that during the presentation of this use case. And we usually, when we post some positions in LinkedIn, we receive a large number of candidates. This first evaluation of all the curriculums that we receive takes a lot of time, and is also crucial in order to select those candidates who best fit the position. Okay, so we have to make this analysis thoroughly and understand each CV properly. It usually is an issue because as we dedicate time to each CV, sometimes we don't have time to review all of them. So it's something that is a pain for us because, sometimes you miss some good candidates if you don't review all the CVs. So something that we wanted to solution, to I don't know how to say, to amend it in some kind of way. So, and also, after this first selection or first evaluation of the candidates, we have the interview process. And we internally, as we work, we create a summary of all the conclusions of that first interview, and we share it internally throughout all the talent and culture team, okay? And this generation of this summary and all the process of taking notes and understanding what are you speaking with the candidate takes time, takes effort, and it's time consuming for team members. That's why we think that maybe using AI solutions, we would be able to improve that. And that's why we created this solution, or we identified the opportunity to develop this solution. And the main objective were to accelerate the process of analyzing candidates, okay? The idea was to develop and deploy a model based on LLMs and also use Copilot agent during interviews in order to improve the selection process, okay? Therefore, this solution, the idea of this solution is to obtain a list of candidates ordered from highest to lowest degree of suitability for this job position, okay? And also we wanted this solution to be explainable, okay? We want to understand why the system was giving these scores. So that's something that we take into account when we develop the solution. And also, during the interviews, using Copilot will help us to obtain the transcript of the solutions and combining it with the notes of the team, of the talent and culture team, we will be able to create a executive summary and detailed feedback of the different interviews and the content discussed in the interviews. Okay, so we wanted to create a solution that is based in two things. First of all, the selection of the best CVs for the interview, and afterwards, efficient or improve the interview process. Okay, we wanted to do it that way. Why we think it's useful for this event? Because it also helps, or I don't know how to say it, show students and job applicants that the world is changing. The selection process is changing, and you have to be up to date and you have to adapt to it. So that's something that we wanted to highlight. And this kind of solution, knowing this kind of solution, will allow them to adapt their LinkedIn or also the curriculums. And it's something that is quite useful for the selection process and for this first job that usually people who finish university wants. Okay. So how does the solution works? Usually we receive the CVs. We want to have like all the CVs in the same format. That's why we use LinkedIn in order to obtain these CVs. We go to the profile of the applicant and obtain the information from there. Okay, I will show you later, and you will understand how we do it. Afterwards, it goes inside the solution and gives different scores for the different candidates. The result of this process, this first part of the process, is two Excel files. One of them with the general score of the candidates, and the other one with the specific scores and also the explanation of these scores, which is really useful for the talent and culture team in order to analyze why the applicants are getting these scores, and to check things in the explanation, to check things that might be worth to ask in the interview process. Afterwards, we have this first filter. We decided to do the interview. We decided to continue with the process, and that's where the Copilot agent enters the process. Okay, we generate a transcript of the interview, and including the notes of the talent and culture team and the transcript, we are able to create a executive summary and a complete feedback summary, we would say, about this interview, about this candidate. And afterwards, it can be sent by email to all the team, okay? Because it's important that all the team has the information always, because maybe it's needed to have another meeting, another interview with him by another member of the team, or maybe it has to be shared with other people inside the company. So it's useful to have this feedback for all. All the team has to have this information. So I will show you now. I will be changing the screen for a while, so if anyone gets lost, please stop me and I will repeat it, okay? It's not a problem. And I will show you. So, as I said, the first part of the process is to create the job offer in LinkedIn, okay? We use Shubham for this test, okay? We have done it last week with Alejandra, she is not here, okay? But imagine that we received the application from Shubham for a position that we have in LinkedIn, okay? The solution will go through his profile, and the solution will download information here, okay? It will go here and save a PDF with information of Shubham's LinkedIn, okay? You can go here and the information is here, okay? And this information that you can see here is the one that is gonna be in the document that I have just downloaded, okay? Let me share the document. Okay, this is Shubham's curriculum, once we have downloaded from LinkedIn, okay? This is the document that goes inside the solution, okay? We obtain information from here. So any information that is not here, we are not gonna be able to find it, okay? So that's something for all job applicants that keep your LinkedIn updated, because companies are using solutions like this, so it's going to be useful for you as well, okay? So after we review the curriculum, of course, we have done this exercise with other candidates, okay? We have selected other candidates in order to check the results. We receive the results in two Excel files, okay? This is one of them. As you can see, Shubham is the first one. And why is he the first one? Because he has the best score, Okay, this is filtered by score. Okay, so we have 5 candidates here, and you can see that I don't know how to say it, we measure different aspects. The first one of them is the years of experience. Another one is the education, what we search for in this case, the programming languages that he knows regarding our job offer, okay? Job tasks that we expect to do in this job position, and also the job tasks that Shubham explains in his LinkedIn profile, soft skills, and the date, which is useful to know when this exercise has been taking place. And you obtain the final score. Let me show you something before I continue, which is the job description, okay? I was mentioning years of experience, education, programming languages, okay? So for this position, we have this job description, okay? The idea, well, we want someone with 5 years of experience, a strong background in NLP, large language models, proficiency in Python, PyTorch, different things, okay? This is the job specifications for this job. And this is, using this job description is how we obtain the different scores for the different things. Let me show you the second Excel, and you can see also the different categories and the explanation of the score, okay? So going back there, here, okay, here. Well, I filtered with Shubham, okay, let me erase it. Okay, here you can see the different candidates with the different sections that we have in the other Excel, okay, job responsibilities or job tasks, work experience, programming languages, soft skills, different things, okay. Each of them is divided in a category, okay, because we want more detailed information about anything, and also we have an answer about how the candidate cover this part or this category, okay? And also the explanation why the system has decided if the applicant cover this or doesn't cover this, okay? So for example, we know Shubham is the best candidate because of the solution said so, okay? Of course, the human is in the loop, the human has the last word on it, and the human will review everything, will review the best candidates to check if that's true, okay? But once the talent and culture consultant receive this information, maybe they can check, okay, according to the system, Shubham is the best applicant. Let's check the no's, okay? So we can go here and filter and check the no's for Shubham, okay. 1 second. Okay, so we are checking here. For example, I know Shubham, I have worked with him. I know he has leadership skills, but the system says no, because the system doesn't found any information about that in the LinkedIn profile. For example, this insight is good for students in order to, okay, or students or your applicants, okay, I have this skill, I have done that in previous years, so include it in your profile, because it's something that is lacking there, and the people from human resources wouldn't be able to find it, okay? So that's something worth noticing, and also this provides information to the interviewer, to the interview, okay? The people from human resources can check this and say, okay, Shubham has been working in the same position for several years. It's strange that he hasn't has any leadership skills, okay? It's something worth asking in the meeting and worth asking in the interview. So you can obtain some insights, not only explanations, but also insights with this information. And it's quite useful to guide the questions in the interview or guide the interview through the way you want, okay? So afterwards, it comes the interview, okay? We have already done it. We done it on Thursday with Shubham. We have done a demo interview, and we have to create the transcript, okay? So we performed the interview through Teams, and we activated the transcript. Let me show you the transcript, and I will show you the next steps of the solution. Yeah, it's here. Okay. Okay, so Alejandra, who is not here, as I said previously, she was the one conducting this interview, okay? She's part of the talent and culture team. She has experience with this kind of interviews. So we have this conversation with Shubham during Thursday, okay? You can see it here. We have a lot of information because, well, they were speaking for a while in order to perform this interview, okay? So once we have this, and we also have the notes of the human resources team, okay, we can go to the Copilot agent and create the summary, okay? Let me show you how the summary is created. So, okay, we have here the agent. Sorry, it's in Spanish, but the summary is generated in English as well, okay? It's in Spanish, as I said before, we are a Spanish-based company. All our talent and culture consultants know Spanish, so it's easier for us to have it that way. But we already have all the processes. We know Shubham, according to the solution, is the best candidate. We have already done the interview. So we will create the summary now. Let me show you, okay? Okay, so we have two spots here, okay? One with the notes. We have already created the notes. I'm gonna copy them, okay? And we have the transcript of the meeting. I'm gonna copy as well. Okay, so after this, you can send it to Copilot. It would take, I don't know, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that. Okay, here is the summary, okay? You can see it here. This is the summary. You can see that it says, Shubham has a total of 10 years of professional experience, including 5 years as a data scientist. He worked 5 years as a software engineer as well. He holds a master on science degree. Also, he has begun his career before transitioning into data scientist. He has concentrated his work as natural language processing. Well, we have a lot of information, okay? That is useful for this position because we have included the job specs in the first part of the process, okay? So after we obtain this, the people from the talent and culture team are able to change anything. They can review it and they can change anything if they need it, okay? As Begoña and Shubham show in Ask You, the human is the last one reviewing the solution, okay, the result. So they can change anything before sending it to the rest of the team, okay? So I will show you that the solution sends the email to the team, okay? I've just sent it and it should appear now. Okay, here, yeah. So you have here the summary and it can be sent to all the team, to all the talent culture team, okay? So that's how we optimize or we improve the efficiency of the talent acquisition process, okay? This is only the first part. Afterwards, we have a lot of other things, for example, a technical interview if needed or a use case if needed. So this is like the first part of the complete process, but we wanted to improve the efficiency of it because it took a lot of time, it takes a lot of time to the talent and culture team. And I'll go back to the presentation and I want to finish with two things, okay? First of all, the benefits of these kind of solutions, okay? Now we can review all the curriculums. We can improve the quality of the solution because they are not only reviewed by the solution, in case if needed, the talent and culture team can review the curriculums as well. Also, we have reduced the time needed for this part of the process about 30%, okay? And also, as I mentioned before, and also Begoña said it regarding Ask You, it's an innovative solution and we usually seek innovation because we want to be ahead of the market in order to provide innovative solutions. We have included more control in the process, okay? As you can see, AI takes a big role here in the process, but also we have included the human in the loop in a lot of the parts of the process, okay? So governance is still there, control is still there. And also collaboration. In order to perform this internally, we have to include people from different backgrounds. For example, business analyst, talent and culture team, and the data scientist who were behind the CV analysis part. And well, finishing with some conclusions, I think they were mentioned before, okay? For example, Miriam in one of in their sessions, she mentioned it, and I think in another sessions were mentioned, okay? Gen AI tools are here to stay. We are gonna have to use them, okay? We are gonna have to adapt to it. but we have to keep the human in the loop. We have to continue to, we are going to be part of the process, we are not going to be eliminated, and that's why we have to combine both things in order to augment human capabilities. Okay, it's something that I think was mentioned during the day, and I totally agree with that, and in Innova, we totally agree with that part. And that's all that we wanted to show. If you have any questions or whatever, I think Begoña, Shubham, and myself will be glad to answer.